There's a lot of spirits on this property. There's a lot. It's taken us a while to get back, but let's see what more we can find. Steve's wearing his headset today because we're in a fairly public area. It's a gorgeous day. Is this a surface find? Oh, what is that?
It's a wheat penny.
You don't even have to dig. Can't see the ear on it. I'll have to try to clean it up and see.
That's an example of probably came in with the fill for the new system.
Oh, that makes sense because we're right on the septic. So just kind of these things that Steve teaches me, but I never knew this. So an example, this right here is this year's acorns. And then you can tell, when, of course, obviously you have access to the trees, this is next year's acorns. So you can tell the season a little bit by the coming up acorn years. There's a lot of junk in this part of the field right now, so it's been hard.
This is probably a bullet. Based on when our last when we dug here last, we found a lot of bullets up in this end. Under the root. First, the way he was pulling on it, I thought, oh, it's a pipe. Soil is. Nope. Looks like a
garden hose.
Wiring conduit thing maybe, or plumbing thing.
Water for the animals. Not old. Oh, look at that.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Finally something old. Well, it's got some nice design on it. It's got a nice color.
Yeah, that's kind of neat. And for some of our viewers,
Oh, new toothbrush. Steve got a new toothbrush.
relatively new toothbrush. They've had some expressed concerns about the condition of my toothbrush. Yeah, you can
That
see it's
is
got,
really neat looking. Is this lettering or just design?
I think it's just design. Usually if there's any kind of maker's mark, it's down. I don't know how old that is, but it's pretty old.
It's neat that it's together.
Yeah, just barely.
Barely.
But
Could try to do this so you can focus. So one thing, sometimes the camera doesn't focus very good. Yeah, it definitely has like a flowery pattern on it. Both sides. That's pretty cool. Surface fine.
you throw it back down and see.
What is it?
It's a
Oh, it's a.
clasp off of one of the tractors.
Ooh.
It had it set on.
By chance, would you be able to tap the first letter of your first name? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Would you be able to tap the second letter? A, B, C, D, E. Okay. Could you tap the third letter? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O. Is your name George? Yes. So I don't know if you guys can see them, but so basically when I do the rods, I just kind of hold my hand still. I know you can't determine this just watching the video, but I'm not moving the rods. My hands are still. The rods, the spirit can easily move them. And I've got the ends are bent, which makes it easier for them to tap out their name. That's why I've got the bent ends. They can tap out dates, they can tap their name. Obviously you can see. So your name is George. Well, nice to meet you, George. So, did you live in this property, in this homestead here? Yes? Can you point to where my husband is? Can you see where he is? He's pointing him over, which is correct. Steve's over in the field there. So we're checking out your property. So we're just outside of one of those animal enclosures. I was just gonna say, is it that right there? A few things.
I don't know what that is.
There's a whole bunch of them. Pieces right there, and Well,
It looks like, I can't tell if this is plastic or glass. All holes full of stuff.
wow.
I wonder if it was some sort of a,
Like a feeding bucket like thing? Or
I'm wondering if it was like something to do with the, a watering thing or a light. And that's obviously copper in the middle, it looks like, with,
sure.
but this, see how the bottom of this is green on it?
Yeah.
And that's
and
green.
that's green.
It's almost like it was, and then this is that same material. So it looked like it was some sort of a, this is definitely copper. And this was like a globe of some sort. I don't know.
So we can't date the animal pastures or whatever they were. Those are, I think, like, we don't know when.
I mean, I don't
or
even
who
know
built
that
those
that's,
or what they
that was like,
potentially.
that
If
was
you remember from earlier, all these, most of these little tree clumps here have those like sheep little
I don't know.
sheds.
Mystery.
Item. This hole is bouncing around. Just having a little bit of a hard time pinpointing exactly where it is. I backed up just in case it was.
It's deeper than what it was marking. It's deeper than what it seemed like it marked originally.
In hand. Oh, it's a coin.
Button or coin or something. Oh, it's a coin.
Sweet.
It's a 2-cent piece. See
Wow.
the two?
Yep.
If you want to look
I
at it,
can.
you should be able to.
Oh, wow.
It's in pretty good shape. There might be a date on it too.
You see the two is like right there. Boy, that's pretty good. I'll put my glasses on to see if I can see the date. Oh, let's see here. Well, I don't know. Oh, 1864? No way. Is it?
That sounds about right.
Yep, 1864. It's on the back side. I thought that I thought it would be on the front side, so I was looking.
That might be the front side of the coin, and the 2 is the back side.
Okay, can you guys see it there? I'll take a picture of it too, but right there. That's really neat. That's an old one.
Yep.
Okay, so now we're kind of heading back to that area where the spoon was, and
Yeah.
so that's definitely dating the time period of a farmhouse. Owned all this land. That's cool. Nice find. So I'm back with George. George has followed me across the street. Yes. Yes, he's crossing. A little bit better area here that I can chat with him. So, can you tell me, were you the original property owner on this property here? No? Okay. Did your family build this property? Yes. How many generations back are you? Can you tap out how many generations you are? 1, 2, 3. Okay. So this was property that was in your family line? Yes? Okay. It's a beautiful piece of property. I can hear him. Thank you. He's kind of older. There's like a loneliness to him. I'm feeling that with you. Yeah. He misses his land. That makes sense to me. Okay. That makes sense, because every time I would drive in on this property, I would see this man standing behind the house, and I could hear him just almost like looking out over the fields, over the property. Yes. Longing for something. Yes. Okay. Well, I'm going to try to determine what it is that you've been longing for. Does it bother you, the condition of the house? Oh yeah, very much so. Very much so. It is a little bit run down. I can't show you the property without permission, but so let's go catch up with Steve and see if he has found anything that could connect to George. See, this would be so frustrating in some places because there's like trash cans, soda cans, and as we're walking.
It's
something shaped, but
it's lead. But it does look, I think it's just a drip of lead. It kind of ironically looks like a pendant or something, but I don't think it is. Look at it first. It looked like a feather or a leaf or something.
That's what it, some sort of decorative, but.
Probably not a nickel. Probably trash.
I already found it. Oh, jeez. The heck?
That razor blade.
Well, could be old. Could be new. Kind of an odd. This is a first.
That's why it doesn't hurt to have gloves on.
Yeah.
Not that that thing would probably cut you, but.
Well, that's one of those things a long time back. I think I remember asking you, like when you find a lot of the pocket knives, I'm surprised you don't find the straight razor, because they would have used those a lot back more so in older time periods, but a lot of barber shops still do. What time period did you live here, George? Can you tell me, was it in the 1700s did you live here? No? Okay. Was it the 1800s that you lived here? Yes. Was it into the 1900s? Yes. Okay. It's like really peaceful here. Did you have, were you part of having the animals down there in the field? Was that part of yours? No? Okay. Well, let's go catch up with Steve again. I can hear him and see if he has found any more interesting items. So see, while I was off talking, he'd found...
I can't be certain, but it looks like it could be part of a knife. I don't know if you can see it that way, but it's tapered to the top.
Yep.
Like a knife would be, thicker on the back.
That's cool. So we're now kind of trekking in the woods. We're behind the original homestead. And somewhere in here there is a cemetery of the family. There's a family cemetery of all the plots. I believe there was like 25 or 26 of the family members, different generations, that lived here. I can show you up here. That's the barn. And that's where I was seeing the gentleman kind of standing on the property by the barn. Kind of looking out into this area. There's an old bottle down there. There's an old bucket.
I don't think we're going to find it because that's the backyard from the house on the other road, isn't it? That's the current original.
We've got kind of like a
family
shed here. Or remnants of a shed. So we may have to pull up the map. We're not in a place with enough signal to be able to pull the map up, but we might end up going back and printing out the map so that we have a little bit of a better idea. Here's an old bottle. close to the house. Some of them are way deep in the woods. So it could actually be on the other side. It would definitely stand out because it's not like just having one or two people buried in it. There's quite a few. So we're in the car trying to...
Sorry.
Go ahead.
The 2-cent piece was produced by the Mint of the United States for circulation from 1864 to 1872 and for collectors in 1873. Designed by James Longacre. There were decreasing mintages each year as other minor coins such as the nickel proved more popular. It was abolished by the Mint Act of 1873.
Wow, so that's pretty cool. Steve is not new to metal detecting, but we're kind of new to just the history of coins and
$32.40, $39. Not that we'd sell it, but
it's just neat to see that and look at the condition of it. It's like a good
first 2-cent piece.
You guys dizzy.
US. Get one on Amazon for $32.40.
Wow, that's a cool find. So George Hayes did in fact exist. We came onto this property with the vision of this man standing outside, looking out into the fields, which no longer exist. Yes, the field that we were in exists, but there's a development in the back. The land that maybe was originally 200 acres is now divided up, and it's modernized. You know, there are people living. So there's a lot of parts to the land that we could not go and explore. We could never get in permission. We could never find, at least right now, like I really, really want to push to metal detect on that land because the land itself dates back to 1752. In 1752, and I'm reading this is the oldest part of the house on the land at the time. It was purchased in 1752. And then obviously it was added on and additions were put on. But it has been in the Hayes family since 1752. And the Hayes family line dates back to incredible stories before the town was even incorporated. So this family existed in this town long before the town actually really existed. And there are really cool stories that would take up a whole nother episode. To be honest, one of them is the story of another George Hayes, not the George Hayes that I spoke with, but another George Hayes in the family line, okay? So, the descendants of Daniel Hayes, son of George Hayes, who was born in 1786, when he was 23 years old, he was taken prisoner by 3 Indians, almost within sight of his own home, and carried into Canada. Now, this is a normal thing that happened to many people in that time period. There's tons of stories of this. So he was taken prisoner. He was adopted by an Indian squaw because of his kindness in helping her obtain fuel and food. Eventually, he was sold to a Frenchman in Montreal through the agency of a Baptist priest. And it says Baptist. Might be a typo there, but his new master was kind, learned that Hayes was by trade a weaver. He started him in business and allowed him a share of the profits. Hayes was enabled in time to earn enough money to purchase his freedom. The good Frenchman supplied him with clothes, provisions, and a half-breed guide for his journey home. The guide accompanied him to Mount Holyoke. And it kind of just goes on to how this family really established their roots in this town. Astonishing to me, as when I go on a property with Steve, obviously he's digging the relics, but when I connect with the spirit that's on the property, there is this desire to understand them, why they're there, but also their lineage. And come to find out, here's this man, he says his name is George and spells his name. Not all spirits want to tell us their name. It's kind of a bizarre thing, but it's true. So he proved that he existed there. Now, I could take up an hour video just going on about all of the history of this. And really, when it comes down to it, it's pretty simple. But he did exist there with his family. Why was he standing out there being lonely and that feeling from him? Well, this house and all of the land that it had was a very successful piece of property. As I said in the earlier video here, and as well as the first video that we made, I think we posted that maybe a few weeks ago. But his family line, there was blacksmith shop there. They had a tannery. They had it was a shoe business. They had all kinds of things. And it was a self-sustaining farm. When George Hayes inherited and continued on that property with his son and his daughter-in-law, they lived with him and they continued the farming, they continued the property. When his son, was his only son, passed, he lived in the house, he continued to live in the house for many years with his daughter-in-law. He did have a daughter, but she didn't live on the property. And he let the farm go, as he aged. And it's written up too that he held it for as long as he could. And over time, getting older and not being able to maintain his house and being able to maintain the farm. And when his son passed before him, it devastated him. And he went into being a recluse. When he finally passed, he left the property to be divided between his daughter-in-law and his daughter. And eventually, his daughter-in-law's aunt purchased the property, maybe to help her out. I'm not really sure all of the total history of it. But long story short, the daughter-in-law ended up taking care of the property for a long time. And then eventually it was sold and is, what it is now. All of the family line is buried on the property in the back in a cemetery that we could not find. We tried to find it. I will have to kind of jump through hoops to get permission to get out there to obviously see the cemetery. It would be neat to see it, but there are quite a few graves of the family that it said that most of them are buried there. But this was a really cool story. It was interesting to meet George. He's totally fine. He's not stuck on the property, but he does feel a loneliness and a longing to be there. He's not there all the time. I had some private conversations with him, and he's okay. He's okay. So that is the story of this piece of property.